Bhaktivedanta Swanti Namani. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pachaline. Nivasesha Sunyavari Pashtatara Satanine. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda. Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sari Gaura Bhaktivinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So, last week we left you with a bit of homework, if you recall, with question number 12. Probably might not need homework. It's quite self-evident. Here's a question, but some of you might have given it some thought. Perhaps Chandravali, you might have even been looking at the questions and studying the answers like you did last time.
I like studying them. It's like recaps my thoughts, you know.
Yeah, it's very good for that. These questions, I think we're doing quite well. I think, as I said before, these questions are quite exhaustive. You know, they're quite detailed. So it takes a bit of applying ourselves to actually understand them. So it's good. And so here's one question, which some of you may have been asked, or you may have come across or thought of. If God is one, why are there so many religions in the world? No, I've got a different take on this as well, personally, but anyone can offer some suggestions or some answers to this question. So God is one, that we understand. God is one. There may be different interpretations of different concepts. Well, some people will disagree with that. No, but we understand God is one. So why is there so many religions in the world? Actually, how many? We don't know. There's the predominant faiths: Christianity, Judaism, Hinduism. Did I miss one?
Can I?
Yes.
Just quick, because there are different levels of consciousness, readiness, and understanding level. So that's why those religious to bring anyway the end of the end of, light on the tunnel is Krishna consciousness. So people are coming through those religions, because in my experience I met people who were Judists practicing, then Christians, then Buddhism, and they came to Krishna consciousness and are now devotees for 20 years in Krishna consciousness. So light on the tunnel is Krishna consciousness, but not everyone is ready with life. So that's why so many religions, many.
Yeah, very good answer. Very good answer. Let's just open it up and see if anyone has any other suggestions.
Is it possible that different people being in the different modes, and the different modes are like 84 million, you know, 9 multiplied by 9. So it's 81 different kinds, and just a shade of sattvic and shade of rajasic, it comes in, and the person has a different mentality.
Yeah, that's correct. I think we have looked at that in Sudha Bhakti Chintamani classes, how there's different varieties according to the semblance of practice, different varieties of practice. Yes, that's also correct, I would say.
Different times as well.
Different times, different place, different circumstance.
Yeah, different place.
Yeah.
Different. Their intellect is different, so they perceive God in a different way. So then they have a religion of their own. So my understanding.
Yeah, Mavalabanga, you said something.
Also, I was thinking that Krishna comes as these like Prabhupada said Jesus was it a Shakti-Vesh avatar?
Well, Prabhupada said it. Prabhupada gave exactly those words. I'm not exactly sure, but he was obviously had a dramatic effect.
Yeah, and you know, Buddha came, Shankaracharya came. They were all highly elevated just to bring people. Like Buddha was to bring people away from the Vedas. So it's like the Buddhism is not actually a religion, but it's a kind of a faith. So,
yeah, very good. It's Gnostic. Yeah, they don't believe in God.
Krishna was the cause of some of these other religions, or
Yeah, so that's another good side that Mother Lavanga has given, is that to serve different purposes, ultimately, then the Lord appears and empowers, say, as with Shakti, he empowers individuals to give a certain type of spiritual practice, which has its far-reaching results. So tactical. Yeah, I mean, all these answers are correct. I wouldn't say they're wrong, because in Sudha Bhakti Chintamani, Maharaj mentions, actually Mother Jamavati got it spot on really as well right in the beginning, because the general answer is that according to different you could say different cultures around the world, different natures, different cultures, so then there's a certain type of religious principles that are given that are enough, that are such that they can practice it and make and kind of can elevate themselves. But then Marge goes on to give a more, he mentions a bit of a deeper answer, which I think everyone touched upon. So as well as the similar or the different cultures and the different religious practices that people practice in the different cultures, which we also mentioned, but I think everyone more or less got this point, that there's a difference in the quality and also the quantity of their teachings. So it's not equal. So I think, who is it? Let me just, names escape from me now. Oh, it's gone. Yeah. And Raja Kishore, excuse me, bit tighter, her name slipped my mind. Yeah, she very nicely mentioned how different levels of qualification. So different religions more or less attract adherents with different levels of spiritual qualification. Yeah. But we have to be careful as well, because what we're saying is that we have the highest qualification. So we have to be careful about that, because actually the real qualification for religion is mentioned in the second verse of the Srimad Bhagavatam, is it? Dhamma Pajittakateva Paramo. So Bhagavatam propounds religious principles that are devoid of material, that are devoid of, they're not done for anything material, completely rejecting all religious activities which are materially motivated. So the highest qualification is purity. In other words, one is not practicing for a material reason. So that is the Srimad Bhagavatam. But we should also note that you may find in different religions, in Christianity, say, for example, if you read some saints and about some Christians, even the teachings of Jesus, if you're educated somewhat in the aspects of pure devotion, you can see some of those persons' pure motive for actually wanting to serve God. So you understand why I'm bringing it up? Because we shouldn't become overly proud that we have the only gate towards pure devotion. Although we must say we do have the only gate to Krishna and the Goloka Vrindavan. But other practitioners, you might find many statements which are obviously statements of pure devotion. I remember one time I met a Christian on the street, and I tried to catch him out, because they have a vague concept of the spiritual world and what goes on there. So I asked him a question, so kind of almost to catch him out. So what are you going to do when you go back to the spiritual world? And he said, I will simply praise the glories of God. I thought that was a good answer. So he's going to go, they see his whole idea is to go back to heaven and sing songs about God and praise Krishna. Right? So another angle I had on this, it's a little kind of angle on this, is that sometimes atheists put forward the fact that there's so many religions proves that there's no religion, because everyone's got their own speculations. So, okay, the Christians say this and the Muslims say this, so therefore it's all nonsense, you know? And there's so many different practices. So sometimes I put that forward as a reason to not believe in God. Yeah. So one angle on this is that the concept or the adoration, the concept, the principle of worshiping God is so intrinsically sown into human civilization that it shows its face throughout the world in many different ways. So in one sense, it proves the greatness and so it sounds a bit like Christian here, the greatness and the glory of God, that he is worshipped. He has so many qualities and he's so therefore attractive that he is worshipped in many different ways. So different ways and cultures of worship actually, in one sense, prove, I could say, I don't know if we'll use to prove, but it indicates the unlimited nature of God. Yeah. Just like you've seen, there's a one T-shirt I saw, you might have heard of, that God is so great that he doesn't fit into just one religion. Yeah, it doesn't. God is so great, it doesn't fit into one religion. So that's another angle on sometimes that atheistic argument. But we did, there's any other comments on that? I think we did well. We answered that very nicely. Sharada's with us today. Hare Krishna, Sharada. You must meet people on the street who ask you this sometimes.
Yes, Prabhu, I get all sorts of questions, and yes, and one of them is this, and another one is our faith is more higher than yours, sort of thing, you know, and you just walk away eventually.
Yeah. Actually, my Guru Maharaj just did a podcast on this subject. Actually, he said really, basically, they are not interested in a dialogue. They are not asking that question to have an open dialogue. So there's no point. It's like Jesus is the only way. So okay. Have a nice day. Hare Krishna.
Yes, that's how I do it.
All right, let's I've got typed up some more questions here. I'm sure I have enough for the hour. We might run out. Let's see. Okay, so a little bit more technical now. Question 13. Why do mixed devotees take the direct path? And when do mixed devotees take the direct path and when the indirect path? All right, so the direct path, what's the direct path? Let's be clear on that first.
Devotional service?
Yeah. You could say 1866 Savadhamam Parachachya. Yeah. And the indirect path?
Go via demigods, you know, sub branches to from the path to sub branches.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. So again, we're speaking about this set of questions, by the way, is under the title of On the Semblance of Devotion. Yeah. So what is it that takes someone towards direct, say a mixed devotee? So someone that has mixed, in other words, someone who's not a pure devotee. Some of them will take to to the path of pure devotion, the direct path, and some of them will take the indirect route. So why is that?
If one comes in contact with a pure devotee, then he gets a seed of devotion, he'll take the direct path. But plenty
Yeah, very
who-
good. Yeah, that's not the answer that's given, but there is a correct answer, I would say.
There is another point, Prabhu. When somebody gives donation to us, for example, food or something, service or something, and we can offer to Krishna that service or food or books or money or whatever. Somebody donates to a devotee and devotee offers to Krishna.
Yeah, so you're saying, so just summarize that. So you're just rephrase that again. I didn't quite catch it.
Oh, sorry. What I want to say that sometimes when making donation or service to a pure devotee, like for example, money or food or something, and the pure devotee can offer to Krishna.
Oh, so that can help to purify or so they can still render some type of service. Even
Yes,
though it
like
might
Food for Life, for example, many donors. We have many donors by donating to Food for Life, and it's prasadam, making prasadam.
Yeah, so you could say that is a way for mixed persons to assist and help
Yes.
the pure devotion. But yeah, actually, after Mother Rajkishore, that answer you gave was correct. Actually, it says they take the direct path under the protection of a realized Vaishnava. Yeah.
And
So
that's Krishna. Yep.
yeah, that's it. I think it was mentioned this morning in the class that's sort of or something that was Prabhupada. Prabhupada gave us the direct path. Yeah, he gave us Bhagavad Gita, which is, and it culminates in 1866. Yeah, so, but perhaps more interesting than when do they take up the indirect path? Basically, Maharaj mentions because they're addicted to getting something in return. They cannot operate without that mentality. So they're addicted to fruitive activity. So therefore, they will continue in even worshipping Krishna, yeah, for fruitive results or material payback or liberation, emancipation, yeah. Anything. Or in other words, the concept of it's difficult one, even perhaps something we have to get over is this desire for moksha or desire not to suffer. That's why we're worshipping Krishna, because there's lots of suffering in this world, and Krishna can give us shelter from that. So, but we should worship Krishna in good or bad, whatever situation we are faced with, then we will worship Krishna. And if Krishna wishes to give us relief from our adverse, karma, that's his grace and mercy. And if I still have to go through some suffering, then that's for my good as well. That's Krishna's grace. Yeah. Takes a bit of preaching to ourselves, but so yeah. All right. Did that cover question 13? Yeah. So number 14. Kind of quite self-evident, this one. What kind of knowledge is detrimental to devotional service? I think we all know that one. We might.
That Krishna is not a person, Mayavadi philosophy.
That's it, yeah. Mayavadi bashing time again, which is good. Yeah, that type of, so the impersonal concept of the absolute truth. Maharaj mentions at all costs we should avoid that. He also mentions here that some philosophers argue that knowledge of liberation is needed before you actually can practice devotional service. You have to be somewhat realized before you can actually practice devotion. No, you don't. You just practice devotional service and then knowledge will come. Yeah, automatically. Yeah. So yeah, we avoid leads to an impersonal conception of Krishna, because Krishna is not impersonal. He's very personal, very beautiful, very personal. So we are against that. So we must avoid that. So 15. Why does fruitive work cover pure devotional service? Okay.
So it says when.
Sorry?
It says when.
Yes,
Oh, well, excuse me. Yeah. When does fruitive work cover pure devotional service? Yeah, this is quite an intro. I can remember this discussion now in Srila Bhakti Chitamani.
When it's done, fruity work is done not for Krishna's pleasure, but our pleasure.
Yeah, is that what you studied and saw?
Yeah, I was looking at it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Let's okay. We take that. Anybody else? So let's answer the question another way. A fruitive activity, for instance, is attending a kind of quasi, you could say, a mundane religious ritual, or say, in a wedding, for example. There's many rituals. It's some 2 or 3 days, and you're obliged to go. So that's actually fruitive. And you're trying to practice pure devotional service. So when would that compromise your pure devotional service? You understand the question, yeah? It's a bit.
Well, I would think any fruitive work, by its nature,
it covers the devotional service.
It's covering.
Sorry, do you continue?
I would say any fruitive work will cover pure devotional service to a
Okay,
degree.
so Mother is saying whatever you do, if you do something like that, you're going to be compromised.
Yeah.
As Marge mentions here, I think you will muddy the waters of pure devotion. Anybody else?
I was thinking, Prabhu, as you said, if somebody is going for a wedding, okay, and you say, okay, I'm coming for the wedding, and then somehow it won't cover then this way. This is the opposite of this question. If somehow you will arrange some kirtan, it's not in their side, from our side. So then that fruitive work has become a devotion service.
Yeah, very good. I think Nitai Mata has kind of got the answer in one sense. It's basically it's the motive that you actually do it, the motive by which you do it. If you do it thinking you're going to make spiritual advancement if I attend this wedding, then that means you're putting fruitive work above the activities of bhakti. And if you think, as Marge mentioned, if you think if I don't attend this wedding, I'm going to be overcome with sinful reactions. So that's not understanding Krishna's going to protect you. Krishna is our protector. So in other words, if it's done out of excessive attachment, rather, as Nitai Mata kind of hinted at, rather than detached duty. Yeah. Okay, we know that going to this relative's wedding for 2 days, someone else couldn't get out of it. The family pressure was there. It's not going to be. It's not going to be the same as attending a 24-hour kirtan. You're gonna, but we do it. But we go. When we do it in detached duty. And also we should be pleasant, and I'm sure devotees who attend are pleasant and nice, and we meet family members and we're devotees, and as Nimai Mata said, we can give them a good impression about devotional service. They may ask questions, they may question your practices, they may see you mumbling some mantra with your hand in a bag. And they may ask, so you get to preach a little bit, When it comes to eating, you're not going to, obviously not going to take alcohol. So you may get a chance to preach. So you don't matter. Added that on as well. So we can, so basically we can't avoid these things mostly. For most of us, especially if you have a family, etc., you're going to have to be involved in these things to one degree or another. Of course, as the little, the better. But if you do have to get involved, just remember this thing: detached duty. Do it with sense of detachment. Yeah. Then you can.
Did we talk at this time in the book about how devotees come to the temple and they do road puris or do things like that, which is, it's something good. I do that and they feel good, but they don't develop in their devotion, you know?
Yeah, we spoke about that, isn't it?
Yeah, we did speak about that, how lots
yeah, that may be quite a common observation.
they do other things, ushering or, you know, things like all sorts of services, but day in, year after year, you see them at the same stage, not wanting to take initiation or not, you know, things like that. So it's like something good. It's fruitive work. It's for my benefit, my desires, to fulfill my desires, you know, not Krishna's desires, you know.
Yeah, and it's good. It's good. It's better than not doing anything. At least to associating devotees, they will hear the holy name. But John, I think as we mentioned, that generally things begin to change is when they start to hear, they start to attend classes. And I've seen that many times in our temple. People come and they volunteer, and they volunteer, and they volunteer, and they volunteer, but they never come in a temple room and sit and hear Srimad Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita class. They just volunteer. So those persons generally don't last, or they don't take up devotion. But those volunteers that volunteer and come and sit in a class and hear, then things start to happen. Then things start to move, you know, they start to make some advancement. That's in my kind of observation I have seen.
I thought to really add something here in Karuna Bhavan, a couple of examples there like that. They were just woofers and just came volunteering, gardener, and then took initiation.
Yeah. Woofers, if anyone doesn't know, woofers are, it's an organization where you can do organic farming anywhere in the world, more or less.
Working on organic farms.
Sorry?
Working on organic farms. Woofers.
Yeah, woof, working on organic farms.
Yeah.
So Scotland have made quite a few devotees like that.
Yeah.
And when I was in Scotland, there was a few woofers there.
Yeah, last week, Jananandana Maharaj got three got initiated. It's like them. Yeah.
They became contaminated by the devotees.
That's what happened to them. Now, one got into book distribution, one was all the time reading. Ian, Isa now.
All right, great. So good. All right, let's look at question 16. Is that right? 16, yeah. Why don't the four pious men described by Krishna qualify as pure devotees? Chaturvadanti mam juna sukritina arjuna artik nasik atati ganicha paradosapa. So let's get the four kinds of pious persons who approach Krishna.
One who is destitute.
He's poor yet seeking money, seeking wealth.
One is like knowledge.
Sorry?
One is like wanting the knowledge.
Yeah, one seeking knowledge. It's two.
Distressed.
Distressed. Someone said distressed. Yeah.
Inquisitive.
And inquisitive. And perhaps let's go a bit further. We mentioned this, I'm sure. Who classically represents someone approaching Krishna in distress?
Gajendra.
Gajendra, yeah. Gajendra was very stressed out. Yeah. Sometimes we think we're in trouble when the car breaks down. He was in big trouble, yeah, with crocodile in the lake. Yeah. So he's praying to Krishna. And who approached Krishna for wealth?
Dhruva Maharaj.
Yeah, he wanted a kingdom bigger than his grandfather, which happened to be Lord Brahma, who happened to create the whole universe. So that is a big desire. And I always get these two mixed up. The inquisitive.
The sages of Naimisharanya.
Yeah, sages of Naimisharanya, and I think we got then the fourth one, seeking knowledge.
The four Kumaras.
Well done, great.
Remember it that way, Prabhu. The fourth one is the four Kumaras.
Okay, the fourth one is the four Kumaras, yeah.
The seeking knowledge.
Yes, seeking knowledge, yeah. And the inquisitive is the sages of Naimisharanya, yeah. So none of them are pure devotees.
No.
Why not? It's quite kind of self-evident in one sense.
They approached Krishna for something. They didn't know Krishna for nothing at all.
Yeah, that's it. And this is Jiva Goswami mentions this in his comments on this first chapter of the Bhajanti Mam. And he refers to the verse we already quoted, Dharma Pachitta Deva Tapanamo. Yeah, completely rejecting material activities, religious activity which are materially motivated. So they're not coming just to, like Gajendra wasn't praying to Krishna just to please him. He had an agenda. Save me, get me out of this mess. Yeah, for God's sake, Krishna. I don't know if he said exactly that, but he said nice prayers. And Dhruva the same. You know, he wasn't just to please Krishna. He had a whole shopping list. He had a whole determination. You know, he wanted a big payback from his worship. And the same again, that sages Naimisharanya and four Kumaras, they wanted knowledge, and they were inquisitive. Yeah. But they all became pure devotees. So their worship was, in one sense, the worship wasn't pure, but it still served Krishna. They still came to Krishna. And then by that contact with Krishna, by that contact with Sutta Goswami, by that contact with Vishnu, by that contact with, Vishnu again, then they became purified, and they then became qualified for pure devotion. So there was a transformation of their original reasons for calling out or approaching Krishna. Yeah. So that should be the same with us to one degree or another. We have certain reasons why we came to Krishna, but there should be other reasons why we stay. You know, that should be more in the line of serving Krishna because it pleases him. Yeah. Yeah, well done. Did well with that. Okay, number 17. If demigod worship is a part of the Vedic system, why did Srila Prabhupada preach so vehemently against it? So vehemently means very intense. Prabhupada had nothing good to say, I don't think, about demigod worship. And Krishna doesn't speak so highly of it as well in Bhagavad Gita. He says it's for less intelligent, but
Yes.
it's part of the Vedic system. So what's going on here?
Yeah, because demigod worship, it won't get you out of the cycle of birth and death. It won't get you back to Godhead.
Yeah, that's because the demigods themselves are subject to
Death.
cycle of birth and death. Yeah, that's one reason.
Vedas are for all kind of people in the mode of goodness, mode of rajas, mode of sattva, and some of the Purans are required just specifically for people who are in mode of ignorance. Some Puran or some Upanishads are specifically for people who are in a mode of goodness. So Veda consists everything Now, if we want to be in the mode of goodness, we have to go to certain Purans and certain Upanishads. And then from there, we have to transcend. It is all contained in Vedas, but Vedas is for everyone, all kind of people.
Yeah. So you're saying it's kind of indirect. It's kind of the long way round. Is that what you're saying? Yeah, the Vedas give descriptions of worship for people in different modes.
Prabhu, Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Sorry.
Yeah, your voice is coming going a bit. I think. Sharon,
I'm on mute. Yeah, can you hear me?
yeah, I can now.
Can you? I say whatever benediction we want from the demigods, it doesn't come from them. It is ultimately granted by the Supreme Lord Krishna. So that's why it is recommended to worship him directly than going through the demigods.
Yeah, thank you. You're quoting directly Bhagavad Gita there. Yeah, it's called Avidipurvakam. It means it's it's Avidipurvakam. It is not it is indirect. So yeah. Now Raj mentions here, he mentions about Kali Yuga and the effect it has had, more or less. It has destroyed the Vedic traditional system, which I think Mother Radhakishore was adhering to. The natural progression that one will naturally evolve through following principles of sattva, and being pious and worshipping different devas, one would then eventually come to bhakti. So that in a classic Vedic society, that would happen quite naturally. But Kali Yuga has made a big mess of everything. So that system, that natural progressive system, doesn't exist. So it's and not only that, he mentions that there isn't the qualified brahmanas to guide people. A lot of brahmanas are brahmanas just to get money. Yeah? So that long-term, that's Marge mentioned, just read this, and no longer the security of a society based on Varnashram to facilitate the long-term cultivation of faith, which Radhakishore again was adhering to. And also the effect of Mayavad philosophy, where people merge Krishna with the demigods. I mean, it's all one. Yeah, it's all a misconception and a big, And over and above that, he mentions materialism. Persons are not interested in the strict religious codes. Yeah, they're not interested. They are distracted. They're not interested in following religious codes, which is needed for the worship of the devas. So basically, Marge mentions that the acharyas have disregarded demigod worship as ineffective. Not that we've got anything against the demigods. We should have great respect for them. Yeah. So therefore, Prabhupada generally strongly encouraged people not to disrespect the demigods. That's one of the offenses, isn't it? But to worship Lord Krishna directly. Go to the source. There's less confusion. Just go directly to Krishna in this messy age of Kali. Yeah. Yeah.
I was with some Shivites. There was a funeral, and they started worshipping Shiv. And how she was talking, this lady, was that Shiv is higher in every respect. How everything emerges from Shiv. And I was listening, and then I said, yes, material world, Shiv is high, but in eternal path, is Krishna who is higher? And she looked at me and she said, I don't think so. And I said, what you are following, if following good faith, and you'll come to the understanding. And have you got any scriptures that you are reading? No, we are not reading any scriptures. We are just meditating. So I said, oh, that's good. At least you're meditating. And one day you will get in your meditation something. And what mantra do you say? And they said, oh, we don't have any mantras. We just look at the light and whatever in the form of Shiva.
Yes, there's a classic case you're mentioning. Thank you for bringing that up. You could have, he was very graceful with them. I mean, you could have then started quoting scripture.
Yes, but they wouldn't have heard anything because they haven't read, they don't know.
Yeah.
So I just
classic. There's no scriptural. Yeah, there's no scriptural injunctions for there. There's not following a specific.
So I did say there is a Shiv Puran. Doesn't your guru direct you to Shiv Puran? Because if you read in depth, Shiv Puran does say Krishna is the highest at the end. So she said, no, we don't have any scriptures.
Yeah, so perhaps you could say, well, I've got a scripture here. It's called Bhagavad Gita.
I did say that. I said, I've got Bhagavad Gita in my, if you want to read. No. I said, okay, that's fine. Good enough.
You offered, so keep the relationship there.
Yes.
Some should probably become, curiosity will overcome them. And they will
maybe one day, maybe, yes. Because I did tell her how I was so curious to get to Krishna, because they all, I've known them for quite a few years. And and she said, I know you were searching for Bhagavad Gita and eventually got it. And they have just become Shivites just recently.
Yeah, so in other words, you could say they're attached to their materialistic life. They're attached to their fruitive work. For them, the sense of giving things up scares them.
And so Shivai Om. I don't know what they were saying.
Therefore, their method of worship suits their material life very nice.
So true.
Yeah. All right, let's go on. So that completes that subject on the semblance of devotion. Now we've got questions on pure devotion. So from semblance to pure devotion. So here's a common question, or maybe a question. Can devotees go back to Godhead in this lifetime?
Yes, if they are sincere, if they do purely chanting, hearing the Lord's name very purely, like Maharaj is explaining, each and every word we hear properly and how we relate to the word, to the mantra, Hare Krishna mantra. We can go, but there is always a but, isn't there?
Well, yeah, you can go in any direction you want. If we want to go, then we can go. But that basically Prabhupada encouraged us to actually go back in this lifetime. Yeah. And I just, here's a quote from Prabhupada here. This is Prabhupada is commenting here on 928. What's that? I forget now. He said, here it is specified that the devotee who's always lived his lifetime here under the direction of the Supreme Lord is, as stated, has evolved to the point where he can, after quitting this body, go back to Godhead and engage directly in association of the Supreme Lord. So that's very encouraging. That may be, for some of us, that may be, dare I say, it may be 5 years away from now, maybe 20 years away from now, maybe 30 years away from now, but it's, it's there, it's possible. Now, Maharaj mentions an addition here. but when devotees face the vast army of their unwanted desires, or he mentions if they take advice outside of Prabhupada's line, then there may be doubt. Then they may doubt this. So he kind of rephrases the question. So the better question is whether one has faith in what Prabhupada said and in the potency of devotional service. Perhaps that's the better question, because it's unequivocally explained, yes, by the potency of devotion and by the blessings of Prabhupada that one can go back in this lifetime. So how much faith do you have in that?
One also needs to have a guru, a guide.
Yeah, that should be understood. That's all part of the process, which we have been given. Yeah, we have the parampara, and we have the principle of Guru Pad Ashraya, taking shelter of the lotus feet of the Guru. Yeah, that's all to be understood. Yeah.
When Krishnadas Maharaj, when my Guru Maharaj passed, and Shivaram Maharaj and Govind Maharaj were there. And after the rituals, Maharaj gave a good class, and obviously everybody is very concerned. And at that time, a question was raised that did he go back to Golok Vrindavan? Obviously, Maharaj said very nicely, explained it very nicely, that we go this time, I mean, lifetime, we go, we enter the pastimes of the Lord. Only reason, because if we go straight into Golok Vrindavan, nobody knows you, right? So we have to form a relationship when we enter the pastimes of the Lord, wherever the Leela is happening, and then we get the relationship, and that's how we progress the following lifetime. I mean, following life, we go into Golok Vrindavan. But he explained it very nicely.
Yeah, thank you for highlighting that point, because the first step is what we call Bhoma Vrindavan.
Yes.
Yeah, where Krishna, Bhoma is earth. So Krishna displays his pastimes in the material worlds at different points in, specific points in time. And there you get the association of the Nityasiddha, the eternally liberated devotees, and you'll be established as saying you get established in a particular service. Yeah, thank you for bringing that point up. So in one sense, it's the same. It is going back to, I mean, it's okay. It's not such a bad deal to take birth again if Krishna's there.
Yes.
In the material world. So yeah, so we are going to enter another womb. Hope everyone's ready for that. But hopefully we want to enter the womb of a gopi.
Gopi, yes.
We want to enter the womb of a gopi in Raj, where Krishna is in somewhere in the material world, in the Bhoma, where Krishna is exhibiting his pastimes. So.
And also Maharaj said something it was very intriguing, literally. He said, Krishna is very tricky. He will offer you other things. And you just say no to everything. And he would say, I mean, then what service would you be able to do? So some people can do, like yourself, Mangal sweets and things like that. So you say, no, I will be able to do Mangal sweets. So Maharaj was really encouraging us how to approach and how to be firm when Krishna comes to take us.
Yeah, Marge has been mentioned. That was quite a theme of his. He would be mentioned even at disciples meeting. He said the same thing. If Krishna comes and says to you that I would take you back to Godhead in your next life, and you can be a cowherd boy,
and you say no.
You say no. You can either come back in next life as a cowherd boy, or you can come back in 100 lifetimes and be a maidservant of Radharani. So he says, if you really, and you should say no, I'll wait 100 lifetimes to serve Radha. They're quite deep. Yeah, it's very specific. So yeah, you mentioned that. So thank you for bringing these up, Mother Vishal.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. I
Yes.
just have a question for that Lord Shiva's the Mataji was referring to. My own, I don't know, my own experience. I was thinking, I think Lord Shiva is extremely merciful, but if you go and ask different things, he will not give Krishna Bhakti. But if you just ask, simply beg, ask, show me the way, what should I do? You tell me. These were my questions basically, and I was thinking, okay, Krishna is an incarnation. Okay, we were praying to Lord Shiva, and I was really fighting with Lord Shiva when my father passed away. I couldn't really take it, and I was asking, what should I do now? Although I was married, I was very shaken. What should I do? You have to tell me now. You're my father. I don't have any. You have to tell me what should I do? Where should I go?
You was addressing Lord Shiva like that?
Yeah.
Okay, go on. Yeah, got it. Yeah.
And then that is how I went upstairs where the satsang happening, and I just joined the class. But I bought a Bhagavad Gita. This is what happened. I was
Okay, so
hit.
that was yeah, interesting. So that was Lord Shiva's answer to you. He inspired you in that way. So he encouraged you towards bhakti, towards Krishna.
Yeah, so that's what I was thinking. If you really ask the right question, like perfect, you ask the question, you get the right answer. I didn't know what to do, where to go. So I was saying, please.
So like, therefore you shall, I'm sure you do, that therefore you owe great respect to Lord Shiva.
Yes, of course.
Is pointing you towards Krishna, pointing you towards his worshipful Lord, Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Prabhu. I heard that you should pray to Lord Shiva to annihilate your false ego.
Yeah, that's also correct. Yeah.
Yeah, that's in Srimad Bhagavatam.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, that's there as well. That's in Bhagavatam. He is he's the overseer of that. So we can, yeah, that's correct. I forget where it is in Bhagavatam, but it is there. Yeah. So we can pray to Lord Shiva to help us overcome our false
Yesterday we read in Sankalpa Kumudi. Yesterday somewhere I read that, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, Prabhu, Lord Shiva is the most merciful and very easily pleased. So we should pray to him for engaging us in devotional service of the Lord, because he's always meditating on Lord Shankarsana.
Yeah, that's the one verse like that. He actually says, I'm always in the mode of pure devotion because I meditate upon the lotus feet of the Lord. I forget the Sanskrit. Yeah, so let's not forget Lord Shiva. He can give us plenty of help, and we need all the help that we can get. Yes. And he's Yata Vaishnava Yata Shambhu. He's a great Vaishnava. We can see how he helped with Shalini. And there's a story just that Maharaj brings up in Srila Bhakti Chintamani of an example of Lord Shiva directing someone towards worship of Krishna. And he brings up the story of what's in the devotee in Coventry, Haridas.
Yes.
Yeah. What's his wife's name?
Haridas is his name. Devotional.
And his wife's name? Yeah, and his wife's name is?
Premanjari.
Yeah, Premanjari.
So,
yeah, so the story is that, he comes from a Vaishnava family, Haridas, and Premanjali comes from a strict, devout worshippers of Shiva.
Shiva, yes.
Yeah, and she was worshipping Shiva since she was like 3, like a young girl.
Yes.
Yeah? And then there was an arrangement of marriage, and but the problem was there. Who's going to be the worshipful focus of the family? You got a Vaishnava, and you got a Shivite. So She was going to be the worshipful deity, is going to be Krishna, or Vishnu, is going to be Shiva. So then apparently then the Shiva actually appeared to her in a dream and thanked her very much for the service and the devotion which she had rendered him throughout her life as a young girl. And then he said, now I'm requesting you, please, with my blessings, please you now worship Krishna.
Jagannath Baldev Subhadra, she worships, and Krishna.
Yeah. She worships Jagannath Baldev Subhadra, and she worships Krishna. So that was the margin includes that story in Sudha Bhakti Chaitanya. But she still has great respect and a sense of devotion, if you want, great respect for Lord Shiva, for actually directing her on that path. Yeah, that's nice. All right, so 7 o'clock went quite quickly. Every time I think I might run out of questions, but we never run out of questions. There's always so much nice discussion. So we're going to look at, we're on number 5 next week, isn't it? No.
Number 2.
Number 2.
Yeah, 2. Sorry, yeah. So this one you might know the answer to. You can be thinking of that. What are the visible symptoms of surrender? There's 6 of them. I can give you a clue. So next week we'll address that question. Okay. So thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you for this hour of Krishna Gita.
Prabhu, I've got one question.
Yeah, quick.
From yesterday, it's a very short question from yesterday's class.
Yeah.
I was just listening to the recording, and everything comes from Krishna, the false ego, everything, and the desire. Now, because of indifference, we have a desire of our own. So does that desire also comes from Krishna?
Well, desire is an intrinsic nature of the soul. You could say it's built in with the soul. I mean, that's what everything is based on. Like, without desire, then who would serve Krishna? So the desire to, make flower garlands for Krishna.
No, this was desire to come back here. I mean, because we were indifferent to the Lord. Yeah. So the desire developed to enjoy.
Yeah, that's it. So then the desire takes on a different form.
Okay.
It takes on a desire where instead of doing things pleasing for Krishna,
that desire must have been implanted by Krishna at any point.
So I'm saying it's part of this intrinsic, it's the very intrinsic nature of the soul. Okay. No soul is free of desire.
Yes, got it.
That is what constitutes the soul, is that they desire, but that desire is originally meant for Krishna.
Yes.
But then we take Krishna out the picture and then we desire for ourselves. So therefore, Krishna creates a whole playground for us to act out that illusion of trying to fulfill our own dreams of happiness and our own desires,
Yes, thank you, Prabhu.
Is that okay? Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you everyone, and we'll join tomorrow. Which I always forget which book tomorrow.
Chintamani.
Yeah.
Chintamani.
Okay. Which book did you say? Oh, Hari Nam Chintamani. I thought you said Sudha Bhakti Chintamani.
No.
So Hari Nam Chintamani. Yeah, and we're reading about the offences, isn't it?
Yeah.
Offences for the holy name.
It's 4:30. Are you okay with the timing?
Yeah. Can we go a little bit later? Is that okay for everyone?
Oh, that's good.
Someone in the queue's actually nodding their heads.
Yes.
Can we do 6 o'clock? Is that too much? Okay, well, everyone's nodding their heads, thumbs up. Okay, that's it. 6 o'clock.
You want it 6 o'clock? Okay.
Yeah, let's do 6 o'clock. Because I'm doing a reading here at the manor with one devotee. So, okay, thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.